Sophomores, in just a few minutes, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Tom, who's going to start a presentation on distracted driving. Before we do start that presentation, I'd like to thank the Secretary of the School Committee, Kathy Krex, for being here, and Mayor Burke's Chief of Staff, Jen Deverwood, for being here. Thank you both for being with us today. One of the things that I have learned to really appreciate about the sophomore class is how respectful you all can be. This past year, I've gotten a chance to know you, many of you very personally. I'm very, very proud to have you here as a class, and I know that your behavior this morning is going to be excellent. I do ask you that you silence your phones and put them away. If you have earphones on, you put them away. And you please give your complete attention to the presentation we're going to have this morning. Thank you very much. Tom.
Thank you. Good morning. So this is what, the class of 2020. Good morning, Medford High School class of 21. My name is Tom Murphy, and I am the president of the Massachusetts Academy of Trial Attorneys. Can everyone hear me in the back? Yeah. Of course, if you can't hear me, then how would you know, right? Anybody in the crowd here whose parents are lawyers? Yeah, okay, all right. Anybody want to be a lawyer? Okay, all right. So let me tell you a little bit about, hold on now, let me tell you a little bit about the Massachusetts Academy of Trial Attorneys. We are civil lawyers, and we typically come in and solve a problem when something has happened. This program, End Distracted Driving, is a step forward where we're trying to prevent something bad from happening before it happens. And we are fortunate to have Joel Feldman, who is a trial lawyer himself from Philadelphia, to share with us the method of dealing with this. Anybody understand generally what the term distracted driving? Like texting and driving. Okay. Well, Mr. Feldman is going to go through step by step and give you some pointers. Mr. Feldman.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, everybody. So this is the 5th year I've spoken to the sophomore class, and I'm excited about some things. Over the past 5 years, the percentage of drivers over the age of 19 who will read a text and send a text continues to go up. The percentage of 16 to 18-year-olds who will read and send a text, I wish it would go down, but it stayed about the same. So to me, that indicates that you guys are getting it. So if I have a choice, and I do these talks all across the country, I practice law a little bit, but not a lot, too much anymore. And I have a choice to speak to your parents or you, I'll pick you guys hands down. Hands down. Because young people are open to new ideas. Forgive me, all the old folks in this room, and I'm looking at you two guys, and some other folks here. We get wrapped up in our heads and we think we know everything, and we make excuses for what we do, and we're not open to new ideas. When I was a kid, I screamed and yelled at my mom and dad to wear seatbelts. When my kids were young, they screamed and yelled at me and said, Daddy, why aren't you recycling? Why aren't you recycling? Today I recycle. So let me just pick out some folks here. Are you sitting next to your friend right here? Is this your friend? Okay. I'm making this up about you. I'm making this up about her. I never met her before, okay? Here's the scene. You see her stumbling out of a party. She's really, really wasted. She's drunk. She's got her car keys in her hand. I don't even have a car keys, right? No, okay. So she's got her car keys in her hand. She's going to her car. She's about to drive. What are you going to do? Now let her drive. Why? Because she's drunk and you care about her. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. You guys have heard that time and time again. When we're done with this presentation, hopefully friends won't let friends drive distracted. So what does it mean when I say drive distracted? What do you think? What comes to mind, distracted driving? Multitasking? Okay. You think you're a good multitasker? You think you are? Come on up here. We're going to do a neurocognitive experiment. Yeah, all right, so is is doing 2 or more things at the same time, right? Okay. So there's going to be snow, don't worry, you're going to do great. What I'm going to say is I'm not talking about patting our head and rubbing our stomach. I'm talking about cognitively demanding things. I'm talking about things like driving, scrolling through music, driving, talking, driving, texting, driving, snapping. You get it. So we're going to do a number task and a letter task. We're going to do them separately at first, so you're not multitasking the first time, and then we'll put them together, and then we'll see how well you multitask. So count out loud, 1 to 10. When you get to 10, switch the letters, go from A to J. 1 to 10, A to J.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J.
That's a fine answer education, right? Okay. Now, we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to try to combine the numbers and letters and see how you do. Do it this way. 1A, 2B, all the way to 10J. So the microphone goes in and out. All right, so what we saw was she did, of course, when it was 1 through 10, A through J, she did fine, and the second time, you actually did pretty well. Most people mess it up around that point. So the point is, we really don't multitask. Our brains switch attention from one task to the next. And when we do it, each of our performances on the individual tasks suffers. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but distracted driving is, as that young lady said, is multitasking. I would like to be able to have a handheld mic without the cord if possible so I can walk around. But let's look at this video. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come up here and I'm going to start with this young lady over here and go across. Just get you guys your impression to this video, okay? What do you think? Hands aren't even on the wheel is dangerous and dangerous. How about you guys right here? What do you think? What came to mind? And? You got anxiety? Anybody else have a different response, like maybe talking about the, yes?
That might have been the most impressive thing I've ever seen.
So, you know, it's interesting that you said that, because I hear that a lot. It's impressive. So what that means to me is that this person is in the habit of doing that, and he was able to get away with it. And I used to drive distracted too, and I was never in a crash. It was only when someone I cared about very much was killed by a distracted driver that I changed the way that I drive, and I'll talk to you about that in a little while. But in terms of the habits we get into, I'll take this young man right here. You drive, Nick? Okay. Let's assume, he said he didn't drive. Let's assume that he drives and he texts and snaps all the time and hasn't been in a crash. I could talk to him about how dangerous distracted driving is, but you've never been in a crash, you've done it lots of times. Do you think that's going to be effective, or do you think you're going to be saying, well, it might be dangerous for her, or for him, but not for me? I don't know. So, what can I talk to him about? Let's talk about respect, right? Assistant principal talked about that. What does it mean? I'm not talking about just driving. What does it mean to respect others? Listen to them when they talk to you, like the golden rule, treat them the way you want to be treated. All right, so I know you don't drive yet, but let's imagine you're driving. You're driving down the road, you've got a passenger in the car, there's people, there's pedestrians on the road, there's other cars, and you're snapping as you go along. Is there anything at all respectful about that? No. So if you want to be a respectful person, when you drive, maybe, just maybe, you'll think that a respectful person does not drive distracted because they care about everybody else. So maybe that's one thing. Let me just show you some of the responses that we typically get. I didn't get them here, but I got a couple of them. Let me also go back to my crazy lunatic driver. Which one, I'm going to give you a little clue, and I'm going to ask you to pick the one that you think kids would be most likely to say as opposed to moms and dads, and I'll give you a little clue. Kids hold people personally accountable. Selfish, disrespectful. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So let me click this and you'll see the difference. I've never had an adult, now you guys are young adults, let's just say your parents. I've never had a parent say selfish, irresponsible, or disrespectful. I've probably shown this to, I don't know, 10 or 15,000 parents, and I've shown this to maybe 100,000 teens, over the number of years. What's the difference? I'm going to come back to my friend here. What do you think the difference is the way the parents look at it and you guys look at it?
Parents see it more of a risk. They see it more as a hard company.
Parents look at it as a risk. A lot of people say, well, I hear this a lot too, that since my mom and dad drive distracted all the time, they're not about to say their behavior is selfish, irresponsible, or disrespectful, so they go right to danger and risk. Whereas the students are more open and they say, hey, that affects me, that can affect my friends, and they hold the driver personally accountable. So these are some of the facts concerning distracted driving. I guess the first one is, for anybody who's killed in here before your age, and dies before age 24, the most likely cause of that would be a car crash. The second bullet, if you look on the Massachusetts Department of Transportation site, you see that's about 20% of crashes are distraction related. And that's for drivers ages 16 to 85. When you just focus on 16 to 19-year-olds, it's 60%, and more of you are going to be killed or injured from distracted driving than drunk driving. That's why the school wanted us to be here. That's why the Massachusetts Academy of Driver Attorneys wanted us to be here, because this is so important. We want to keep you kids safe. That's why we're here. We want you to be able to do anything you can and want to do. So that's the picture of my daughter, Casey. She was the person who was killed by distracted driver, and that's the reason why I changed the way I drive. Now, if you do the math, you can see she was killed when she was 21. You know, I used to say my daughter died. Today I say she was killed because the 58-year-old man made a choice as he was driving to reach for his GPS. He rolled to a stop sign. He hit Casey. She was a pedestrian in the crosswalk. It was broad daylight, and he said he never saw her. So today I say my daughter was killed. That picture was taken when she was a high school senior. It's just one of my favorite pictures of her, so I use it. And I remember when I saw it, I said, gosh, she looks great and all, but thinking she had her entire life in front of her. She could do anything, she could be anything. She was about to graduate high school. And I look at you guys, and you guys have unlimited potential. But what I know is it can be taken away in just a few seconds. It can be taken away in just a few seconds. So that's the one. We want you to think about the drivers. If some of you do drive, the drivers you are. Most of you don't drive. We want you to think about the kind of drivers you want to be, respecting everyone on the road. And we're all passengers. We won't let our friends drive drunk. We wouldn't get in the car with a drunk driver, but I bet many of us have gotten in the car with a distracted driver, and many of us have not spoken up about it. We'll talk a little bit about good ways to speak up. So these are some of the excuses, if you will, that we give for driving distracted. The And here's the scene. The man who killed my daughter, he's in the courtroom because if you kill someone while you drive distracted, you're going to go to jail. And they asked him before the judge passed his sentence, do you want to say anything? One of the things that he said was, I only looked away for a few seconds. It wasn't very comforting, and in case he was still dead, it wasn't very comforting. These are the excuses that people give. I've never been in a crash, I'm a safe driver, and there's a lot of hypocrisy. I mean, it's okay if I drive distracted, but I don't want this guy in the car next to me, I don't want this guy. If your moms and dads drive distracted, and we'll get into that later, I know that they probably complain about the other drivers on the road. I did that all the time. I mean, look at that idiot. Look what he's doing on the phone. Today, I respect everyone else who's driving on the road with me. I do my best when I get behind the car to keep myself and my passengers safe. And anyone who shares the road with me, I'm focused on the road the entire time. I don't pick up my phone. Of course, you know the reason why that is. If Casey wasn't killed, I'd probably still be driving distracted because I got away with it all the time. I got away with it all the time. So, little X is still alive. He had a horrendous injury. He was paralyzed from the neck down. Today, he's tied to a machine. He can't breathe without being tied to this machine. All because a 22-year-old was texting. He was walking across the street. He was just about to turn 6. Walking across the street, his big sister was actually holding his hand. The driver ripped him out of his sister's grasp and dragged him down the road underneath the car. She was so focused on her phone. So I think about little X lying in bed the rest of his life. He's now 9. Each and every breath that he takes, in, out, today, tomorrow, next week, next month, for as many years as that little boy lives, all because of this distracted driver. To me, that's selfish. So let me introduce you to a friend of mine who's a Medfordian. Is that how you say it? Medford. How do you say it? Medfordite. Okay, I got it from the official folks here. A Medfordite, Emily Stein. She's the president of the Safe Roads Alliance, a national organization for safe driving. And we're going to give Emily the handheld mic.
Hi everybody, thanks for being here today. I'm going to play a video that explains my story and why I'm here, and why I partnered with Joel. And then we're going to talk about something in the recent news that some of you might know about.
I wasn't texting, I wasn't using a cell phone, but I still killed someone. I was 17, prom was coming up, I was ready to leave high school, I was excited about the summer and going off to college.
My mom and dad were both teachers, and they met in elementary school where they were teaching. People would describe him as a gentle person. He was my dad. He was a great dad. He was the greatest dad I could have had.
I was on my way back from my clarinet lesson. I was hungry, so I was looking at my GPS.
All throughout high school, he was there for me every step of the way. He coached me in sports. He was there for every single one of my games.
My car drifted into the breakdown lane on the side of the highway, and I hit a man, and I killed him. I'm responsible.
I was 6 months pregnant when my dad died. I knew he was going to be such a fantastic grandfather. And when she smiled for the first time, he was a bear to share it with.
When I was driving, I had a choice. I could have pulled over to the side of the road just a few seconds. It changes everything. It's just
My mom has this incredible grandchild that she can't share with her husband. She doesn't have that partner. I think of all the things that my dad has taught me and about the love that we had as a family.
distracted driving is a choice, and it's a selfish one to make.
meant to us, and that total rock that he was for our family. And sometimes it's too hard to talk about it. So today, I got a text this morning letting me know that a survivor from the marathon bomber, Adrienne Haslett, she's the dancer who lost one of her legs. She was hit in a crosswalk a couple of days ago. And I don't know yet what the driver was doing. It might have just been that he didn't see her because it was dark and raining, or it might have been that he was distracted by something in the car. But it was just that reminder, we never know who we're sharing the road with. It could be your best friend who happens to be crossing the street. It could be somebody in your family. It could be somebody who survived the marathon bombing. And now, when she had plans to run the marathon this April, she's lying in a hospital bed and has surgeries ahead of her and pain and healing to do. And it's just devastating. So it was that reminder of we're sharing the road with humans who have families, who have stories, who have futures behind their back. And just like we're here to talk to you because you have those futures and we don't want to see you hurt, it's that reminder when Joel talks about respect, we have to respect the other users on the road, whether it's other drivers or pedestrians or cyclists. What the video doesn't say is Kate and I went to the same high school. So to find out that it was somebody who was about to graduate from Groton Dunstable High School where I went just 10 years later, to get a note from my old calculus teacher vouching for her and how she was a good person and she didn't deserve a tough sentence. It was just so painful, but also that reminder of if we treat everybody on the road like we treat our friends, like we want to be treated, then we won't be looking down at our phone. We won't allow ourselves to be distracted for that. So this video actually is about a driver who was distracted for a second, and you see the danger of being a pedestrian. And how many people, I do it myself, how many people have their backpack on the front seat by the passenger seat? Backpack, bags, phones. Some people say to put the phone away, but they have it face down on the passenger seat, but really it's too tempting. So we'll just play this video for you to see what you think. The pedestrians survived, but seeing how they were hit, they had serious injuries that they might still be healing from decades later. And as you can see, the driver here had never been in a crash. And we hear these excuses all the time. Driving's boring. Everybody's doing it. I'm a safe driver. But when you think about who's out there, we really have to keep reminding ourselves who we're sharing the road with. And then on the side of a pedestrian, and again, I walk in Medford, we have a pretty walkable city. So, when we're pedestrians, even though we have the right of way and a crosswalk, it's still so important to make eye contact with the driver because you never know. I always assume that a driver is not looking up and we need to stop and make eye contact with them. So they see you and you see them. I'll turn it back to Joel.
I had dinner last night with Emily and little Evie, who's now 7 years old. And little Evie is just an adorable young lady, and she never got to meet her grandfather because of a distracted driver. So oftentimes we hear about teens, and we hear about peer pressure, and we hear about the bad stuff, negative peer pressure. I work with teens all the time, so I know the incredible power each and every one of you have to keep your friends safe. Positive peer pressure. These stats are positive peer pressure. These stats are for any of you who feel a little uncomfortable about speaking up when you're in a car and you see your friend, older brother or sister, mom or dad driving distracted. These stats should help you feel comfortable, because if you speak up, you're likely to be successful. So I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer to help me out. This gentleman right here. This gentleman right here. Okay. Come on up here if you would. And what's your first name? Dion. Okay, Dion. Let me put you over here so you're on the driver's side. You're probably not driving yet, right? Okay, so we're going to pretend that Dion is my driver. Dion loves to look at his phone when he's driving. What do you use it for mostly? Snapchat and texting?
Yeah.
So he's snapping down the road. I'm a little nervous. Now, he's doing me a favor, right? It's his car. I don't even have my license, let's pretend that. And now I'm going to be criticizing him. Maybe that's what some of you are thinking. How could you do that? You don't even have your license. You can do it. So all I want Dion to do is raise your hand if you think you would be, and you have to pretend you're a driver, it's your car, if you think you'd be annoyed by what I said. Okay? So if I say something to you about your driving and you think, and you'd be annoyed, shoot that hand way up there. If your hand doesn't go up, we're going to assume that if we were passengers with Dion, it would be okay to say this. Let me test him first and see if he'll really raise his hand. See if I can piss him off. Dion, you're the worst driver I've ever seen. I don't know how you got your license. So we don't want to do it that way. I don't want to see that hand go up. Okay. Dion, I really care about you. And boy, I'll tell you, I'm a little nervous that you look at your phone a lot when you drive. I told him I really cared about him, see? Once you tell somebody you really care about them, that hand's not going to go up. Dion, I'm a little uncomfortable when you're looking at your phone as much as you do. You still could. Dion, how about you let me text for you, or we pull over to the side of the road so you can text. Would that be okay? It's as simple as that. I really care about you. I'm a little uncomfortable. I'm a little nervous. Now, does anybody know the difference between using I statements and you statements? Who knows that? This gentleman, tell us what the difference is. Okay, so how about, what did I use with Dion to convey to him I was uncomfortable or nervous? What kind of statement? I statement. So give me an example of a you statement that we wouldn't want to use if you were the front seat passenger with Dion and you were nervous. Give me an example of a you statement that we would not use. You are making me nervous, exactly. Dion, you're making me nervous. I'm blaming him for how I feel, and what's he naturally going to do? No, I'm not. And that's the end of the conversation. I really care about you. I feel uncomfortable. I feel nervous. Can you let me text for you, or can we pull over to the side road? Now, these stats are peer-to-peer. Unfortunately, you're going to be a little less likely to be successful with your mom and dad, but they still say it's over 50% success rate. We've asked moms and dads what the best thing their child could say to them to get them to put down their phones, and this is the winner. Mom, Dad, I love you, but I don't feel safe when you drive me because you're on the phone. Do we have any moms here? Mom? How would you feel? How old are your kids? 18. So if your 18-year-old would say to you, Mom, I love you, but I don't feel safe because you look at your phone all the time, how would you feel?
I would feel horrible.
We want to make our moms and dads feel horrible. That's what we want to do. Dion, thank you very much. So, I really care about you. I feel uncomfortable. Mom, Dad, I love you, but I don't feel safe when you look at your phone. And that'll get it done. We have an annual video and meme contest. I have to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of memes, but I know you guys are, so that's why we have the contest. But here's one of the runner-ups from last year's contest.
Better get out of here. Distracted driving, man. Not cool.
Now, I'm only going to say this once. Thanks, Matt.
We talk about the power to keep each other safe. You know, it's video and all, but think about that. Each and every one of you has the power to keep your friends safe. I'd now like to introduce a friend and colleague, Peter Ainsworth, also from the Massachusetts Academy of Trial Attorneys.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me here. Can you hear me in the back? This is working now? It's great to be here in high school. I haven't been in a high school in a long time. It's bringing back memories for me. I played lacrosse in high school. What kind of sports? Anybody here involved in sports? Okay. Like what do you play back there? Basketball. Okay. Let me ask you, during a game, have you ever got a little slow? Have you ever pulled out your phone and Snapchatted or texted while you're playing? No? Why not? I didn't hear you. Why not? You don't do that. Why not? What would your coach think if you pulled out your phone and started texting during the game? That's right. Get your head back in the game. Pay attention to what's important, right? We have a little video that shows what might happen if you did pull out your phone in the middle of the game.
Ready?
How people are willing to text and drive when they're doing something where lives are on the line, like driving around, when they would never ever do it in something like a football game or a basketball game, as important as that might be. You just don't do it. And the point is, when you're driving, you just don't do it. Just a show of hands, from what you've seen so far from these videos, how many people out there think that maybe they won't text and drive once they get their license to drive? Okay. Good. Well, as Joel said, you guys, at your age, you're the good ones. Most kids your age don't text and drive. But you're not the only people we have to convince, okay, not to do it. And we've touched on the issue of parents texting and driving. I'm a parent, okay? I've got 2 daughters, and I texted and drove, and I changed the radio station and not pay attention. I would drive too fast with my own kids in the car for years. Sometimes I'd catch myself if they're driving their friends around with them, then I'd be careful for some reason. And I think about that, why is it that I'm more careful with other people's kids in the car? It doesn't make sense. And I think the only explanation is that when you're with your own family and your own habits and you're driving around, it's very easy to convince yourself or delude yourself that everything's going to be okay and nothing bad's going to happen. And the point of this program is to show you that no, that's not always the case. You always have to be vigilant. So how many of you out there have been driving with your parents and noticed them texting? That's a lot of hands. That's a lot of hands. How about you up there in the back corner? I'll come up to you. Can you tell us? Yes, you. What's your name?
My name is Theodora.
Okay, Theodora, can you share with us an experience you've had with your parents texting and driving?
We were in the car and my dad was just texting while driving.
Well, why don't you tell me how it felt when you were in the car with your parent texting? So it's something that always happens and it felt normal and not weird. You feel that he's good at it, he's mastered. So do you feel safe with him texting and driving? Okay. Even from all you've learned today, Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Have you learned any strategies today on how to deal with even your parents if you're uncomfortable with them driving and texting? Okay. You're using I statements? And what were you saying? Okay. Using nicer tones to call it to his attention. Good. How about anybody else? Has anybody else had an experience where they've said something to their parents about texting and driving? How about you up here in the yellow? Could you come down here? Thanks. What's your name?
Anaya.
Anaya. Nice to meet you. Thanks for volunteering. What can you tell us about an experience you've had?
So my sister was telling my dad to change the radio station, and he kept doing it, and I told him to probably focus on the road, and I would change the radio station instead.
That's great. That's exactly. How did your dad take it? Was he angry?
No, he wasn't.
Not at all, was he? I probably appreciate it. Speaking as a dad, I can tell you, and I'm sure he did. Thank you. So, how many of you think I was a good role model for my kids when I was driving and texting or changing the radio? No hands. Not a hand up there, no. I didn't think so. All I can say is I had to change. Okay, I had to become a better role model because of this program, Joel, because of you and because of Casey doing this program. Changed the way I behave and changed the way I approach driving. And I hope it does the same for all of you. Now, it's not just parents that we have to worry about. How many of you have brothers and sisters? Younger brothers and sisters? And many of the same people who are raising their hands are ones who raised their hands when I asked if their parents texted and drove. And so the point is, if your parents are gonna be texting and driving with you and your siblings in the car, isn't it then up to you to be good role models once you learn how to drive? Can you do that? Do you want to do that? Do you want to be a good role model for your younger brothers and sisters? The point is, parents can tell you not to text and drive, and they do it themselves. It can feel hypocritical, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You don't have to drive like them. It's your choice. You all have your own choice to drive safely and to not text and drive. Joel?
So we have lots of good reasons to keep ourselves safe, to be safe drivers, to speak up. I don't know if you can see, we've been handing out pink wristbands. What's your favorite color?
Red.
What's your favorite color? Blue? Blue? Yellow? Purple? Blue? Green? All right, so why do I ask this? Why do I ask what your favorite color is? Well, because Casey's favorite color was pink. So anytime I do a talk, I wear pink to remember Casey, and I also have a pink wristband. I just started out with one wristband. I'm going to show you the wristbands I've got, and if anything happened to you, maybe your moms and dads would have wristbands in your favorite colors. And what's happened is I go to talks, and parents will come up to me and say, my daughter was killed by a distracted driver, or my daughter was the distracted driver and died in a crash. Her favorite color was pink, green, lavender, blue, red. Did you wear this wristband to remember her? And of course I say yes. So I have these wristbands to remember dead children. And these are just the young ladies. On this wrist, I have the ones to remember the guys. So I have all these wristbands to remember dead kids. All these wristbands. So I can talk to you about statistics, I can talk to you about facts, but each and every one of these wristbands represents someone like you who was sitting in a high school auditorium. Hopefully, he's sitting in an auditorium, probably didn't see a presentation, and because maybe their moms drive distracted, their friends drive distracted, or because these phones are such habits, they drove distracted, or someone else went out and killed them. Each and every one of these crashes are 100% preventable. 100% preventable. Now look at this young lady over here, and you're very expressive. I can see your emotions on your face. So you're looking at my collection of wristbands. Like what are you thinking?
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's really, really sad. And it doesn't have to be this way. We are addicted to our cell phones. Anybody here drive yet up here? Okay. Have you looked at your cell phone while you're driving like I used to? You have? Okay. Okay. All right, so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to figure out a way not to be addicted by the phone, not to have to resist the urge to do it. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit more. How about when I was talking about respect? Is respect a value that we care about? What did you think when I talked about that young man down there? I don't at least see anything respectful about driving your children, driving your friends, even if you're driving alone, driving and looking at your phone and snapping while you're driving. Does anybody think that can all be respectful? But you're going to be tempted to do it. You're going to be tempted to do it when you get your licenses. Absolutely 100%. Even after Casey was killed, for almost 2 years after Casey was killed, I was still tempted to look at my phone because it had become a habit. So a lot of researchers say we could talk to you about, you going to jail because you've driven distracted. And they say what's more effective is to let you think about being the person who killed someone else. You're nodding your head, yeah. So I've met now hundreds of parents whose kids are dead because of distracted driving. Most were killed by others. I have a light blue one here. It's kind of hard to see. But Brittany, I got this from her mom in Oklahoma City. Brittany was the distracted driver. She was in a one-car crash. On this side, I have one that was given to me not by mom. And generally, they're going to be given to me by your moms. I don't know why, but it's your moms who come up to me after a never the dad. And to look in the face of a mom when she's crying and saying, let me tell you about my daughter, what a wonderful young lady she was, and she's dead. I mean, I look at these wristbands, and I can see the mom's faces. I can see them all. I have one given to me by Big Brother. After a talk, he came up to me and said, my brother was killed in a car crash. He was looking at Instagram, and it was a one-car crash, and he died. And then he started crying and sobbing, and then he asked me this question. Getting my little brother was doing that Instagram at the time he died because he saw me do it all the time. That's what the big brother thinks about each and every day, that he may have taught his little brother that bad habit. Each and every one of these has a story. And it's a story that we shouldn't have to be talking about. And it's a story, each of these stories, these crashes are preventable. And you guys can do that. You can keep each other safe. Let me turn this back over to Emily for a couple of minutes to talk about how to avoid the temptation, how to avoid distraction.
So, cognitive distraction? So, oftentimes we talk about texting and driving. That's what's illegal. Once you guys are done with your GDL law, texting and driving is illegal in Massachusetts. But holding a cell phone is still legal. It's still okay to do for adults, and we're trying to change that law. But even when we're on a hands-free call and we're looking at the road, we still have distraction in play, and it's called cognitive distraction. So does anybody experience something where you're looking at something but you don't actually see it, or you're hearing sounds but you're not listening? And often that's the case when our brain is multitasking. We're distracted by something else. I do it all the time to my poor daughter. She's talking to me and I'm hearing it, but I'm not really listening because I'm focusing on something else. So this slide stays with me every time I'm tempted to use my phone when I'm driving. And this, sometimes people, here are audiovisual with a learner, and this is what did it for me to explain what our brains are actually doing when they're not prioritizing driving, instead they're prioritizing something else in the car, usually phone. So I'm hoping you guys can all see it in the back. The image on the left is somebody who is just driving. They're not distracted by anything in the car, outside the car. And you can see the field of vision is more than half the windshield. They actually set up cameras on the dashboard tracking the eye movement of the driver, so they can measure it. So the one on the left is great, and that's what we want. The image on the right is what happens to our field of vision when somebody is just on a call, hands-free. So their eyes are on the road, their hands are on the wheel, but their brain is prioritizing the conversation. So unfortunately, Joel and I have worked with many families. We're connected to people across the country who've lost a parent or a child because the driver didn't see the red light because it was outside their field of vision, and their loved one was T-boned in an intersection. So it's when you think of everything outside that pink box on the right, you're not going to see a car backing out of a driveway, you're not going to see the traffic light, you're not going to see the cyclist on the side of the road, because our brains are really bad at multitasking. As good as we think we are at multitasking, in reality, the vast majority of us are not. So for those visual learners out there, think of this slide and how we literally have tunnel vision if we're trying to do too many things at once. So then here's some things, what I love about this presentation is we tell you sad stories, we tell you reasons to change the way you drive, but we also need action steps. What we're hoping you can all do is come home today with a plan to talk to your friends about how you're going to change the way you drive, a plan to talk to your family, especially those parents out there with, we saw those kids grow up, so your parents clearly need some education and to hear about what you learned today. But also there are things you can do today by putting your phone, changing the setting on your phone. So what I do is I just put my phone on silent. Some people put it in airplane mode. If you have an iPhone, there's a setting that's do not disturb, and it's actually really good. You just go to your settings, you press do not disturb, you can make your make your message that if somebody texts you or calls you when you're driving and you have this on your phone, they'll get an auto reply saying, I'm driving and it's not safe to talk, or I'll call you when I get there. And sure enough, when you get to your destination, all the notifications, missed calls, notifications will pop up. If you have an Android, it's an app, so you have to get that app. But it will do the same thing, it will block notifications when you're driving. And it's a really good way, if you're still tempted to use your phone, It's like out of sight, out of mind. You don't hear the notifications, you don't see the phone, and then when you get to your destination, then you can take care of everything. There's so many other apps out there that you can use, but the most important thing is just make a plan. Choose one and make a plan. If Joel calls me and I can't answer the phone, I actually change my message so it just says I'm busy or I'm driving, and I'll call you when I can. And it's just that point of education to remind the person calling you that, yeah, I prioritize my safety and other people's safety, and I'm not going to talk when I drive. And it kind of also gives me an excuse for not answering my phone. So I'll turn it back to Joel, and thank you so much again for all your.
So, real quickly, you're going to be around people who start driving shortly. You're around people now, you're going to start driving. If you find that there are people who don't text and drive, who turn their phones off, who set it on Do Not Disturb or do anything else, support them. Let them know that you think it's cool or it's responsible. That's the way we keep our friends safe. That's the way we keep each other safe. We just play this video. You'll meet Casey's friends, and you'll meet my wife in this video. All of Casey's friends drove distracted before Casey was killed.
This is a face of distracted driving. This is Casey Feldman. Casey was a daughter, granddaughter, sister, niece, cousin, and friend. She was kind, caring, had a great sense of humor, lived life to its fullest, and was loved by many.
She was so funny and so vibrant and so beautiful in every way. She was smart, she was intelligent, she had goals for herself, she was really grounded, and she was someone that you knew would grow up to be somebody special, somebody important to other people.
Casey's life ended on July 17, 2009. She was struck and killed by a distracted driver while she was crossing the street in a crosswalk. He had taken his eyes off the road for just a few seconds.
It was the first time that I ever lost somebody, a friend, and someone my age, and it made me realize that could have easily been me, that could have been my sister, it could have been anybody.
Before Casey's accident, I drove distracted, and I would let people who were driving me be distracted.
And then in high school, rushing around to activities, I'd be eating in the car and doing makeup in the car. I actually wrote a speech in the car once. I was changing the radio station while backing out of a parking spot, and I hit a utility pole. I would take my eyes off the road to do makeup, to text message, to use my phone. I think definitely as a teenager, when you're first driving, you do feel invincible, and driving can become a secondary task to whatever you're doing. You're basically operating a weapon. I think that people need to realize that they're operating something that has the power to change thousands of lives.
No matter what it is you're trying to do in the car, it's not worth it.
When you're driving, it's not a secondary task, it is the only task you should be doing. We would learn from Casey's death that as young people, we're not invincible. And we learned that it just doesn't happen to other people. It happened to Casey, someone that we love and miss very much.
I think of Casey lying on the roadway after her accident, and when the police officer asked her how it occurred, she said, "I want my mom." And I wasn't there to comfort her in those last moments. What will it take for us to change the way we drive?
I've stopped having meals in the car. I put one CD in and I just don't change it. I make sure my purse is in the back seat now. My phone is in the back seat. If I'm driving, that's the only thing I'm doing. This is the picture I have in my car of Casey to remind me to keep my eyes and mind on the road. You could do the same with a picture of somebody that you love and care about.
So after you heard my wife say what Casey's last words were, my wife says, "What will it take for us to change the way we drive?" And she says it in anger, frustration, and of course in grief. You know what it took for me to change the way I drive. Some of the other speakers have told you what it took for them to change the way that they drive. I don't want any more wristbands. I don't want to meet your moms and dads, and I don't want them to grieve over you. Children are supposed to bury their parents. Parents don't bury their children. I'm the one with the future. If you think about that, I'm the one with the future and Casey is dead. It's not supposed to be that way. It's not supposed to be that way. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. That's the message. So as you're sitting here, these are rhetorical questions. I'm not asking anyone to respond to these, but what will you think about the next time you get in the car and your driver starts to drive distracted? Will you think about, hey, maybe I shouldn't speak up because it's their car? Or will you say, you know what, I can speak up and I can keep them safe. If only you would do that, you can keep your friends safe, even if it's mom and dad. What about being the respectful people we are? Should our respect for others get thrown out the window just because we get behind the wheel of a car? No. Respect isn't something that we turn on and off. Respect is an everyday thing. We want you to be caring drivers, we want you to be respectful drivers, and we want you to graduate school and go on and do anything that you want to be able to do. We want you to have that. That's why we're here. So it's been great speaking with you. We've got wristbands up here. We've got a small size and a large size. We want you all to be safe. Thank you so very much.